We, the jury in the above entitled case, unanimously find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Jared William Baum, is guilty of aggravated murder.
It was Judgment Day for the man accused of brutally killing Breezy Otteson and Riley Powell. After nearly 40 days in the courtroom and more than 2 days of jury deliberations, Jared Baum was found guilty on all counts. The charges included 2 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of aggravated kidnapping, 2 counts of abuse or desecration of a body, 1 count of possession of a dangerous weapon by a restricted person, and 1 count of obstruction of justice. It was an emotional day for the victims' families who have waited years to see this man brought to justice. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree joins us tonight from Provo. Jenna, how are the families doing after the verdict?
Bob, they are relieved. We spoke with a few family members after the jury wrapped up, and while they do feel that justice was served today, they're disappointed that the verdict isn't the capital punishment that they think Jared Baum deserves.
Well, I don't know if we're allowed to say we were happy, but we were happy.
The day has finally come for the families of Riley Powell and Breezy Otteson.
We, the jury in the above entitled case, unanimously find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Jared William Baum, is, count 1, guilty of aggravated murder.
It's been a tense 4 years, and to hear that first guilty was, it was a weight lifted that it's been long overdue.
Jared Baum found guilty on all counts of murdering the 2 teens in 2017.
This case predates me, and it is easily, without question, the case that has through which we have expended the greatest resources in the history of Utah, of any case in Utah County.
Both families had asked for the death penalty for Baum, but Utah County Attorney David Levitt took capital punishment off the table a few months ago.
While a conviction like this will never bring back either Riley or Breezy, I hope that today's guilty verdict will, in some measure, begin a healing process for the victims.
Davis says if anyone deserves the death penalty, it's the man who murdered her niece.
We'd hoped for the death penalty from the day the charges were filed. Death penalty has been, we felt like we haven't fought hard enough if they didn't receive, or he didn't receive the death penalty, and that these kids were worth that.
The jury will be seeking a life sentence without the possibility of parole. That sentencing is set for June 1st. Reporting live in Provo, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Jenna, thank you. Attorney Greg Skordas was not involved in this case, but spoke to Fox 13 News today about the sentence Jared Baum is likely to receive.
Given that it's an aggravated murder and the judge is almost certainly going to impose life in prison without the possibility of parole, he will file some appeals and look into what the state did and how they prosecuted the case and make sure that they did their job correctly and make sure that his own attorneys did their job correctly. So yes, you can expect appeals.
Stay with Fox 13 News as we continue to track this high-profile case every step of the way. We'll provide updates on air, on social media, and at fox13now.com. This is new video from the Utah Highway Patrol showing a trooper trying to stop a wrong-way driver on I-15 in the Salt Lake Valley. A Kaysville police officer was able to stop the driver from heading into Kaysville, and working with UHP troopers was able to hit the driver, forcing them to stop. The driver was arrested for DUI with a blood alcohol content level 4 times the legal limit. Now, this comes as UDOT and the Utah Highway Patrol are asking drivers to slow down, especially around construction zones. It's National Work Zone Awareness Week. With 175 projects around the state this year, UDOT and UHP are reminding everyone, Speeding is dangerous and unsafe anywhere, but especially in construction zones. Fox 13 News asked UHP Corporal Tara Wahlberg about wrong-way drivers in the construction zone at the project along US 89.
We do have a lot of wrong-way drivers here that we've been dealing with. Fortunately, not too many of them have been in the construction zone. You know, the last one on April 1st, she was going the right way. She just entered the zone, unfortunately, and didn't stop. So wrong-way drivers are, you know, pretty bad out here, but fortunately not in the construction zone.
And remember, if you're caught speeding in a construction zone, the fine doubles. This weekend marks the first time in 33 years that three of the world's largest religious holidays, Easter, Passover, and Ramadan, all converge. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph spoke to people of those faiths today about how this convergence has served to strengthen people's relationships with their faith.
I think it's profound that so many of the world's major religions are all celebrating their festival this weekend.
We need people of faith to come closer together.
So to have the three come together, Ramadan, Passover, and Holy Thursday to Easter, is a wonderful, wonderful event.
It's a time of prayer for so many in Utah.
Right now we are in the middle of Ramadan, a little past the halfway mark.
And Imam Shuaib Din is busy at the Utah Islamic Center.
And Ramadan is the most spiritual time of the year for us. It is the month in which the Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
The symbolism of the convergence of these three, he feels, is important.
Well, this is a time where we definitely need more people. We need more prayers. We need more people to focus on God.
Today is Good Friday, and so on Good Friday, we're celebrating the death of Jesus.
As many gather at the Cathedral of the Madeleine for Good Friday, Father Martin Diaz feels the importance of today, too.
There's a fulfillment of humanity, of the soul, that takes place when we come together.
Passover is an 8-day holiday that begins tonight, Friday night. Tonight and tomorrow night we'll be hosting a Seder, the formal Passover dinner, where we gather together with friends and family and loved ones and community.
Before sunset, Rabbi Avremi Zippel is also preparing for tonight's Seder, marking the start of Passover for the Jewish faith.
Everything is full of significance. Everything helps us remember the liberation and the freedom that our ancestors gained.
And as many gather around their tables, with their families in worship, or in private to meditate, the confluence of this time has made it an important weekend in the lives of so many.
It's a reminder that as a civilization, as a people, as a human race, there is so much that binds us.
And when we are all in our high holidays, then it makes it even more merrier and better.
What a beautiful moment it is. I'm sure God is very happy.
All of the religious leaders we spoke with today had one message, and that was, whatever religion you're a part of, it's a reminder during this season to love one another. In Salt Lake City, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Wiser words have never been spoken. Allison?
Yes, great advice.
What a wonderful weekend we're going to have. And if you're out hunting Easter eggs, how are we going to do outside?
Sunday looks a lot better than tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be windy, and also we have the chance for some showers and thunderstorms here across northern and central Utah. Right now it's 52 though, but if you're outside without a jacket, it's definitely on the cooler side. 48 for Ogden, 49 for Provo right now. Let me show you satellite and radar. We have really dried out as expected, and we're going to see the storms ramping up tomorrow after lunchtime again. So Salt Lake tonight, 47 degrees at 10 p.m. By 8 a.m. Those temperatures in the mid 40s, and by noon tomorrow, temperatures into the 60s. We'll end up peaking in the low 60s for Salt Lake City. We will have breezy conditions, a chance for some rain and thunderstorms. The wind is really going to become strong tomorrow across the southern half of the state. So check this out. By 4 o'clock tomorrow, we are tracking wind gusts 45 to 50 55 miles per hour for much of the southern half of the state. We're going to have very gusty conditions all the way up even into Utah County. So what we'll be watching for you into tomorrow will be the wind ramping up, gustiest conditions across the south, and then here across northern Utah, we'll see a better chance for some showers and thunderstorms to develop. By Easter Sunday, we'll have calmer conditions here across Utah, but still by Sunday at 4 p.m., windy up in the northeastern part of the state, up towards the Uinta Basin and western Uintas. Let's talk more about a couple of storms, a couple of windy days ahead in your full forecast.
A grim warning tonight from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to the rest of the world. What he says Russia may be planning and why the CIA agrees. Drought conditions here at home worsening like never before. But there's one thing you can do to help as temperatures warm up.
More students across Salt Lake City are showing their opposition to recently passed House Bill 11. We'll hear from students here at East High School in a few minutes.
It looks like he was wanting to literally be Trump's lawyer. And that's sad. It's not right.
And just released text messages from Utah Senator Mike Lee show his involvement in efforts to keep President Trump in power after losing the presidential election. Ukrainian armed forces say Russia is already retaliating for the dramatic sinking of its flagship cruiser in the Black Sea. Multiple explosions left at least 2 people dead outside an Orthodox church in Ukraine today. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is warning the world worse may be coming in the form of a potential nuclear strike by Russian President Vladimir Putin. CIA Director William Burns agrees it's possible.
Given the setbacks that they've faced so far militarily, none of us can take lightly the threat posed by a potential resort to tactical nuclear weapons or low-yield nuclear weapons.
A senior U.S. defense official says the first flight of $800 million in U.S. military aid is expected to reach Ukraine in the next 24 hours. President Biden is urging Congress to pass legislation that counters China's growing economic influence. The president says this bill could help America's economic strength and national security.
We have a great opportunity ahead of us with the Bipartisan Innovation Act I mentioned, which is going to provide $90 billion in research and development, STEM education, manufacturing, all those elements of the supply chain that we need to produce end products right here in America.
President Biden added that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gasoline and food prices around the globe. Broadway has extended its mask mandate through May, but some theaters are relaxing their vaccine requirements. The Broadway League, which includes the owners and operators of all 41 theaters, made the announcement today. The league says the mask requirement will go through at least the end of May. However, many theaters will no longer require proof of vaccine after this month. Airline protests continue with Spirit Airlines flight attendants on the picket lines today in Las Vegas. They're demanding a better response from the airline on mass flight cancellations. They say the airline leaves both crews and passengers stranded without answers. When there's no backup plan for cancellations, flight attendants have to work 20-plus hour shifts because of it. Employees of other airlines have also been picketing for various reasons, including Delta pilots earlier this month at Salt Lake City International Airport and elsewhere. Today, crews from NASA, the European Space Agency, and SpaceX talked about their time aboard the International Space Station. This is astronaut Kayla Barron.
I think you can intellectualize the experience of living and working in microgravity, but until you experience it, you don't really know what it's going to be like. The spacewalks were absolutely incredible. We had a fantastic time out there doing some amazing work, looking down at our beautiful planet. And for us, I think that was a really, kind of the ultimate experience to have together, and really valuable developmental for future missions. And when we start to think about things like going back to the moon, doing a moonwalk, I think that's the best way we could have possibly prepared.
Barron has been at the space station since last November as part of the SpaceX Crew 3 mission. Drought conditions are starting to become more relevant as we slip into the warmer months. The Utah Department of Natural Resources says 8 of the last 10 years, the state has been in a drought, and this year's snowpack is not going to pull us out of it. Fox 13 News spoke with the department's drought coordinator, who says last year's conditions surpassed the extreme category and into exceptional, something not seen very often.
The drought was so dry. We set a lot of records for driest. We set a lot of records for hottest. And that combination of hot and dry doesn't happen very often. And again, these record-setting temperatures, the record-setting low precipitation caused it to be one of these events that we only expect to happen once every 100 years.
Haskell says to help slow the flow this year, wait to start watering your lawn until the temperatures are in the mid-70s for several days in a row.
And I'll tell you what, Bob, we don't have 70s for several days in a row here in Salt Lake City, but we do have a couple of 70s in the forecast. A beautiful spring afternoon asked for a stormy start this morning. Thank you so much to Joe for posting this picture in our Facebook group. I think this is a finch, and what a beautiful picture this is. Just, wow, it looks like a computer background, just really nice. Now, we do have unfortunately not great weather for your Saturday. Very clear sky for many of you tonight from about Ogden south. We have mostly clear sky, but what we're tracking for tomorrow is our wind picks up, and then we see some chances for showers and thunderstorms. And then by Easter, things are looking really nice here across Utah. But let's talk about it right now. Still close to 50 degrees for Provo and Ogden, 41 for Logan. Down in St. George, still close to 70 degrees. Tomorrow becomes really windy across the southern half of the state. Look at this, Saturday, 4:30 p.m. We see wind gusts 45 to 55 miles per hour for central and southern Utah. Gustiest conditions south of I-70, but we still see that wind breezy here across northern Utah into our afternoon hours. So we'll have wind alerts, wind advisories starting tomorrow at noon for much of central and southern Utah. So this will be for the West Desert, Lower Washington County over towards Lake Powell, up through Canyonlands over towards Moab. This does include Arches, through Green River, up through Price, over towards Emory. So tomorrow, very windy conditions. We also have some fire concerns, especially for the Moab area. The fire weather watch tomorrow at noon. Now, tomorrow morning here in Salt Lake, we'll have cloudy skies. So you'll wake up tomorrow close to 40 degrees, and then into the afternoon hours, our temperatures will be in the 50s. So we're going to see a chance for some afternoon showers, maybe even some thunderstorms tomorrow. So let's look at our storm threat. North of I-70 is where we could see our best chance for some thunderstorms developing into tomorrow afternoon. So overnight temps, 6 a.m., it'll be around 40 degrees for Provo, for Tooele, for Salt Lake, for Ogden, and you'll have partly cloudy sky. And then tomorrow afternoon, breezy for Salt Lake City with a chance for some rain and maybe even some thunderstorms. Daytime highs making it into the low 60s here in Salt Lake City. So Saturday at 4 o'clock, I know a lot of you have fun plans, all of the holidays this weekend. With Easter on Sunday especially, we're going to have much better conditions for you on Sunday. But if any events are happening Saturday night, it's going to be really gusty across the south, and we have a chance for some showers and thunderstorms to develop for central and northern Utah. But temperatures will make it into the 60s. And then Easter Sunday here in Salt Lake City, you'll start out close to 40 to 45 degrees, and then by lunchtime, brunch weather close to 50 degrees on Easter Sunday. Our chance for precipitation here in Salt Lake City scattered for Saturday day and Saturday night, so not all of you will see rain. Drier for Easter, weak system Tuesday night. Could see some more chances for some rain towards the end of next week. St. George, you're close to 80 for Saturday with windy conditions by Easter Sunday. You'll have sunshine and in the 80s, and you'll stay in the 80s next week. For the Wasatch Front, close to 60 this weekend, 75 on Monday. Really nice Easter weather. Let's talk more about a chance for some storms at the end of next week later in the hour.
Thanks, Allison. Just ahead, Governor Cox and the First Lady worked today beautifying a school. Why they were serving in this way. And the Utah Jazz are changing the lives of students in a big way. We'll show you. You've heard of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Well, ground was broken today on an outdoor STEAM classroom at the Guadalupe School.
3, 2, 1.
The 12,000 square foot facility will provide students with hands-on training in science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
We'll have a vegetable garden so kids can really learn where food comes from. They'll be planting and taking care of that.
The classroom will also have a water display, nature art area, and an interactive music display. Guadalupe is a Title I school for low-income and minority students who often don't have access to STEAM subjects. A heartwarming new video from the Utah Jazz shows the moments a group of high school students learned they were getting their college educations paid for. Take a look at this.
We are excited to let you know that each of you is being rewarded with the Jazz Scholarship. You heard that right.
Every one of you here is getting the Utah Jazz Scholarship,
which covers 4 years of full tuition, room and board, books, fees, everything.
Isn't that wonderful? The Jazz funds a full scholarship for each win on the court. The scholarship recipients also get mentors, support with their internships, and job placement. Now watch the students share the news with their parents.
I got it! Quiero que todos los estudiantes que están ahí sentados agarraron la beca de We did it.
What a wonderful, wonderful thing. The team has pledged 112 scholarships so far based on the past 2 seasons. Political tensions after the 2020 presidential election. Tonight, something new is coming to light. Messages show just how involved Utah Senator Mike Lee was in trying to keep President Trump in power. Coming up.
These students behind me are using their voices to show solidarity for transgender students and reject House Bill 11. More from their walkout in a few.
Talking about, I'm having a hard time too, and this is what I'm doing to help myself through it.
The pandemic has made us take a closer look at some of the access we have to mental health resources, particularly in rural Utah. I take a closer look at that coming up.
There is reaction tonight to text messages sent by Utah Senator Mike Lee in the days following the 2020 presidential election. They were obtained by CNN and show conversations Senator Lee had with then-President Trump's team. Fox 13 News reporter John Franke has a look at Senator Lee's involvement in the president's effort to remain in power.
On December 8th, Lee floats this idea of some battleground states selecting electoral college delegates contrary to the verified ballot counts. He said, quote, "If a very small handful of states were to have their legislatures appoint alternative slates of delegates, there could be a path." But on January 3rd, Lee expresses his frustration with the president. This message says in part, "I don't think the president is grasping the distinction between what we can do and what he would like us to do." A message that follows reads, "Again, all of this could change if the states in question certify Trump electors pursuant to state law. But in the absence of that, this effort is destined not only to fail, but to hurt DJT in the process." The next day, President Trump said this at a rally in Georgia.
And Mike Lee is here too, but I'm a little angry at him today.
Lee then texts Meadows, "I've been spending 14 hours a day for the last week trying to unravel this for him. To have him take a shot at me like that in such a public setting without even asking me about it is pretty discouraging." After Meadows responds, Lee adds, "It's not your fault, but I've been calling state legislators for hours today, and I'm going to spend hours doing the same tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out a path that I can persuasively defend, and this won't make it any easier." Lee faces re-election this year. His office sent us this statement. It says in part, "The text messages tell the same story Senator Lee told from the floor of the Senate. They tell the story of a U.S. Senator fulfilling his duty to Utah and the American people by following the Constitution." But the candidates vying to unseat Mike Lee in the upcoming election see it differently. Here's Democratic candidate Cale Weston.
It's sad to read that. I want senators from either party who put country ahead of partisan divides. And in this case, it looks like he was wanting to literally be Trump's lawyer. And that's sad. It's not right.
In a tweet, Evan McMullin said, a U.S. senator, especially one from Utah, should defend our Constitution and our freedoms, not use his position to sneakily pursue ways to destroy them. And the GOP candidates trying to primary Lee weighed in. In a statement to Fox 13 News, Becky Edwards wrote, Senator Lee researched overturning a lawful Democratic election for partisan and political gain. Allie Isom said she wants to give the senator a chance to explain the messages, but added, this is one example why she believes Utah needs a change.
I'd rather our elected official show concern for the priorities of the people of Utah rather than the political gamesmanship that is so common among the political apparatus in Washington, D.C.
When asked for an interview today, Senator Lee's office told me he is unavailable. On the Hill, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We have an update to a story we brought you last night. A South Ogden woman who is missing for more than a week has been found. Police say 18-year-old Delaney Wright made contact with her family and returned home safely today and in good health. Investigators are trying to determine the cause of an apartment fire in Mill Creek this morning. It happened near 600 East, 40th South. Unified Fire Authority says they were initially told that someone was trapped in the building, but everyone was safely out when they arrived. One person was treated for smoke inhalation. No one else was hurt. Crews say the fire mostly destroyed the second floor of the building, but they do not yet know the extent of damage. Utah continues to have the lowest unemployment rate in the nation. March numbers were released today, and Utah's unemployment rate is at 2%, compared to 3.6% nationwide.
Right now, Utah is doing well. We expect to be right there as one of the top states with our economy, and that will only continue.
9 of the state's 10 private sector industry groups showed year-over-year gains. The leisure and hospitality sector, hardest hit during the pandemic, saw the most growth in February and the second highest growth in March. Last week, it was West High School. Today, a large crowd of East High School students walked out of class in support of transgender youth. They were also protesting a bill passed in the legislature preventing transgender students from playing school sports. Fox 13 News reporter Eliana Sheriff takes us there.
A lot of energy, a lot of flags and signs expressing how they're feeling about this particular bill. And the chants, I mean, if you caught nothing but the chants, you know that kids are in support of letting all students play regardless of how they identify.
These students say their hope is to help transgender students feel included in light of a bill that they say is purposely excluding them. These bright flags stood out in the gloomy weather Friday as East High School students walked out of school. The students showering transgender youth with support.
We call on our legislators to further educate themselves about this matter.
The legislature recently passed House Bill 11, which bans all transgender students from participating in school sports.
They really want to make sure legislators understand the impact that this bill is having.
The movement was led by students, and the school administration did know about their plans ahead of time. They believe this is an important way students can get involved.
It's actually not unusual for our students to walk out or demonstrate. Our students tend to be pretty involved civically, and we view this as a really important part of their educational experience to exercise their First Amendment rights and speak out for what they believe in.
In Salt Lake City, Eliana Sheriff, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up, how the state of Utah is working to boost mental health services in rural areas. If you're looking for resources, we'll show you where to begin.
And wind advisories for much of central and eastern Utah tomorrow. What you can expect for our strongest wind gusts and if it will impact your Easter plans.
We've talked a lot about mental health and the toll the pandemic has taken on all of us. Many experts encourage parents to talk to their children about how they're doing and find counseling and treatment if needed. But in rural Utah, it's sometimes easier said than done. Fox 13 News anchor Amy Nay has this in-depth report.
The pandemic has only heightened our awareness of mental health access or the lack thereof, particularly in smaller communities here in our state. I was able to talk to leaders with Utah Division of Health and Human Services on why that may be the case and what's being done to fix it.
We're really having to jump on top of things and make sure folks have the services that they need.
Pam Bennett with the Utah Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health acknowledges the pandemic and its impact on mental health.
There is a unique part to that in the rural community in that they have fewer provision of services. They have to get more people together to hold a group. And in some ways, telehealth has just really blossomed and made those services so much more available.
But a workforce shortage makes those resources in person or virtual harder to come by.
It's having those conversations at home. How are you doing? It's role modeling and talking about, I'm having a hard time too, and this is what I'm doing to help myself through it. It's reaching out to those other adults in your kids' community. So people at school, coaches.
Leah Colburn from the state's Children's Mental Health Services suggests parents turn to their kids' schools as a place to start when looking for resources.
Many times schools have mental health services attached, or talking to your child's pediatrician.
She says there are resources available.
It's all about ensuring that Utahns have access to quality mental health care across the state. It's just, really looking at those creative options to ensure that people in the rural communities have access to services.
And she says the pandemic has actually brought about some good.
We're talking about it, and I think that's the most important part.
We just did a research study looking at stigma, and we are finding that in the rural area, the stigma is decreasing.
But Bennett says there's still work to be done.
We do need to keep the conversation going. We need to normalize it. This is something we all deal with. 1 in 5 Utahns will have a mental health issue, and we need to talk about it and make sure that folks are willing to reach out, help each other, and then get the services they need.
They suggest using 211 as a way to connect with resources in your community, not only for mental health services, but food, housing, and other ways to help lessen the burden of the stresses you and your family may be facing. Reporting in the newsroom, Amy Nay, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still ahead, a special farewell for one beloved Utah elementary school custodian. We'll show you the unforgettable send-off he got today.
And later in sports, Donovan Mitchell on the Jazz's mindset going into tomorrow morning's Game 1 in Dallas. Should be fun and early. Plus all the action from a Friday that was, from rugby to hockey and baseball in between, including the Utes pulling a Pac-12 upset. Back in a bit.
Welcome back. Members of Utah's executive branch spent today in service at a school in West Valley City. The roughly 60-person group included the governor and first lady. They cleaned up the grounds at Endeavor Charter School, painted a mural, and helped children with their art projects.
When we give back, and especially when we do it together, there's a connection that happens, and we need more connection, especially coming out of the pandemic. We're wired for connection, and doing good things lifts us. It lifts the giver and the receiver, and everybody's having a great day.
The group plans to perform hands-on service projects at least twice a year. Turning now to a unique Easter egg hunt put on by Shriners Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City. It was an adapted all-abilities hunt for children with physical challenges today. Organizers say this year's hunt was important for the children, especially after a 2-year hiatus due to COVID safety protocols.
For many of our patients, this is their first Easter egg hunt. We give them the time and space and support that they need to be able to participate in a big Easter egg hunt, and we haven't been able to do one in a while.
I just decided to just go on a rampage, and I still had pockets full.
Among the 2,000 eggs that got constantly replenished, children in wheelchairs were able to participate with eye-level eggs placed on tables covered by artificial grass. What a bittersweet day for that man right there. A beloved caretaker gets a warm, heartwarming farewell. Today, Mid-Valley Elementary said goodbye to their head custodian of 39 years. Jim Sheely is retiring after a total of 41 years as a custodian. He was there when they opened the new Mid-Valley Elementary 2 years ago, replacing the previous Cold War era building. Mr. Sheely has been a constant in the lives of the junior Huskies for decades, and today they honored him as he left.
The best thing is to be happy about what you do. Then you don't feel like you've worked every day. And I would sit and have breakfast with 2 tables full of kids, and we sit and talk about what the day was going to be. I was helping my daughter move a few years ago, and I had a kid come up to me and say, "Mr. Sheely, I remember when I was at Mid-Valley." And that was a great feeling. You feel like a rock star when they remember you.
They will never forget you. The school played a goodbye video showing his years of service and seeing many teachers, students, and families come and go. Now it's his turn to walk out the front doors one last time. Thank you, Mr. Sheely.
Yes, what a great story there, and what a great moonrise tonight. Beautiful picture. This picture from Eric posted in our Facebook group, Utah's Weather Authority. If you haven't joined yet, we would love to have you. We have a full pink moon on this Easter weekend, so getting the pastel notes. Pastel notes for the colors this weekend. 52 degrees currently here in Salt Lake. We're getting the note from Mother Nature for some spring temperatures finally, but tomorrow's not really going to be that pleasant of a day. Let me explain. Tonight we have mostly clear sky from all the way Logan down through central Utah. Once you get past Scipio down through about Cedar City, a few clouds, nothing too problematic tonight. It's actually a pretty pleasant night here across the state. Tomorrow when you wake up in Salt Lake City, about 40 degrees, cloudy sky. We'll have our windy conditions, especially across southern and central Utah, and then a chance for some afternoon rain and thunderstorms here across the northern and central part of the state. So overnight temps around 40 degrees for Provo, Tooele, Salt Lake, and Ogden. And then forecast at a glance for tomorrow, Salt Lake 62 for a high, Ogden 60, Provo 62 degrees. Chance for some evening thunderstorms here across northern Utah. Now, not everybody is going to see rain, but there is the possibility of it. They're going to be pretty scattered into tomorrow afternoon and evening. Very windy conditions for Cedar City at 63 tomorrow, Ridgefield 65, St. George 77 with a lot of wind, and for eastern Utah. For Moab 75, fire weather watch tomorrow, Price 62, and for Vernal 60 tomorrow with mostly cloudy sky. So tomorrow afternoon, wind really ramps up, especially across the south. Looking at 3 o'clock tomorrow, windiest conditions south of I-70. Then we start seeing the chance for some showers and thunderstorms to move in across northern and central Utah. By Saturday night, we still have some remaining thunderstorms. Mostly, though, into the mountains, and we're going to see this precipitation late into the evening. And by Easter Sunday morning, really nice weather. Tuesday, a weak system brushes northern Utah. Could see a few isolated showers out of that. And then by the end of next week, it's looking like we're going to see a cool down and maybe even some more chances for rain and snow by next Friday and Saturday. But the spring game at the U next weekend, we're tracking temperatures into the 50s and potentially that chance for rain. For St. George, windy Saturday, Tuesday, and next Thursday. And for Easter Sunday, St. George, 83 degrees, but tomorrow very windy conditions. Partly cloudy sky. For the Wasatch Front, low 60s tomorrow, low 60s on Easter Sunday with nice weather, 75 on Monday. What a way to start the week. And our temperatures will be in the 70s and 50s and 60s all over the place next week, but still pretty comfortable temperatures.
The Mavericks have yet to confirm Luka Doncic's absence for Game 1 tomorrow, but according to many sources, it appears as if that's inevitable. The megastar has not practiced all week and continues to nurse a calf strain suffered during Dallas' season finale on Sunday. An early series advantage for the Jazz for sure, though Donovan Mitchell and company cannot afford to look past the 4th-seeded Mavs either way.
For us, we're worried about ourselves and how we can, be the best team possible Game 1, Game 2, and all the way throughout the series. If you start looking at that, it's like, man, he's out, we got to win, we got to know. I think that you lose the focus on what we've been preparing for all week. I think as a group, we're really locked in on what we've been doing, and that's being prepared to play if he's out there or not.
The final two play-in games tonight, starting with Clippers-Pelicans. LA going without Paul George, who tested positive for COVID before the game. Larry Nance on mop-up for New Orleans. Then Jackson Hayes in transition. Clippers, though, have since spurted ahead with a nice start to the third quarter. And Cavaliers-Hawks for the final spot out east. Cleveland mixing defense with offense in quarter two. Lauri Markkanen gets it started. Evan Mobley on the receiving end of that alley hoop to finish it. But the Hawks rally down 10 at the break. That's 4-point range there from Trae Young. Atlanta better in the fourth as well. Young with 38 points as the Hawks move on to get the top-seeded Heat next. After a disappointing start, the Utah Warriors released their recently named head coach Sean Pittman just 8 games into the season. General manager Brandon Sparks taking over head coaching duties on an interim basis for the rest of the campaign. Tonight being Sparks' first game in his new dual role at winless Old Glory DC. Sneaky play off the ground. Mikey Te'o bolts out in front before dumping to Caleb Mockany. Utah led 13-10 at the half, then scoring quickly to begin half two. Te'o across the try line this time, but Old Glory rallies late. Not only the try, but the conversion for a 1-point lead. A little extracurricular there as well. Utah needing a desperation kick at the end to survive, but it sails wide. So DC with their first win at the Warriors' expense, 22-21. 2 games till the playoffs for the Grizzlies. Utah 2-0 on visiting Idaho after Johnny Walker's goal. The Steelheads scored twice in 30 seconds to tie it at 2, but the Grizz got it done 4-3 with 2 Dakota Robbie goals in the third period. There was a double dip at Smith's Ballpark Friday. Start with the Bees, who all wore number 42 on Jackie Robinson Day. Vegas up 2-0 early when Brendan Davis's fly ball gets Salt Lake on the board, tagging Matt Theis. The Aviators responded with a 4 spot, though, in the top of the 5th, including that Eric Thames jack. Vegas wins 8-5. While earlier, Utah entertained 20th-ranked Arizona. Start with some Davis Kopp sirens. A ball over the left center wall to double up the Wildcats at 4-2 in the fourth, and that was followed by a 4-run Ute fifth. Alex Beza this time pulling corner for an RBI. Go ahead and add a sack bunt in there as well. Matt Richardson bringing home Beza. 9-5 the upset final. The rubber match tomorrow. We're right back.
Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9. Quickcast is up next.